You can't change people. And I like to share first some common sense things and then some good stories, hopefully. So let's start with the basics. You can't change people. How many relationships have you been with girls or guys, and you're always disappointed because they never live up to your expectations. They never want you to do what you want them to do. Or how many parents don't like their kids because they set these goals for them. And if the other person or the kids doesn't have that goal, well, then they don't do them. And it's like, it should be a common sense thing. Like, you want your kids to be successful, you want your partner to be kind and loving. But think for a moment how hard it is to change yourself. And if you struggle with changing who you are, your confidence, your diet, your habits, your health, all of that, then how the heck are you going to change somebody else's goals or mindset or opinion? Now let's abstract for a bit, and we'll go with the story. And let me make sure I change the names for this. So let's just say there was this young kid, Steve, at a gym that I went to. And of course, I'm going to change the gym. We'll just say Planet Fitness, doesn't matter. A community gym in a small little suburban town. Steve. Now, Steve, let's say he's in college, I think, about a freshman or sophomore, 18 or 19. But he was super ghostly white and super, super skinny. And the only thing you would see Steve do around um, the gym, he did his workouts and he was always drinking his little protein shake. But I don't think he realized that, he was very unhealthy, very skinny. And he always had these giant headphones on, Beats or something, the big circular ones, and he talked to nobody. Super, super pale. Headphones on, music all the time. Really underweight. Scarily so. He was like a skeleton. And he was doing the same workouts all the time, maybe hoping he would get stronger. But apparently, Kyle had some problems because he didn't realize that, hey, you're part of society still, and you can't do some things. He had this habit where he would lift up his shirt in the middle of this public gym and stare for a couple minutes at his abs. And as I mentioned before, I don't know what other parts of his diet was, but all he had was this protein shake. And that was it. And apparently he had this habit of passing this smelly gas everywhere he went around this gym. And so this extroverted guy, let's call him Bill, would always yell at him, would always tell him to change his ways, would always criticize him, would always explode at him like, dude, what are you doing? You can't be doing this. Like, do you realize where you are? You're surrounded by all these people. And guess what? Kyle never changed because criticizing somebody, setting goals for them that aren't goals that they have, and not encouraging them will not get them to change. And apparently, gosh, Bill, yeah, Bill, that's what I was calling him. Bill, the big guy that was yelling at the small anorexic Steve guy. Apparently, one time it got so bad that I got kicked or temporarily banned from this gym for a couple of days. And then a couple of weeks later, it would happen again. And then it happened enough times to where the mom of Steve threatened to sue the gym. And then Bill, he got banned permanently. I don't know why the gym thought that was the best course of action. And now, of course, they eventually end up getting rid of Steve because the things he was doing. Apparently, he got enough complaints. But for some reason, Bill thought by exploding or yelling at this kid that they would change anything. And I'm sure, he had problems, they weren't acceptable. But it's like, how do you deal with this situation? I mean, at the end of the day, you can't change anybody. You can hope to be a good leader, be a role model, try to encourage them, but sometimes they still might not change, or they might not realize, if they're a problem or not. Especially if they keep to themselves, which happens to be, I think, more frequently these days because people are just shutting themselves off the music and everything, the technology, shutting themselves off from everybody. And it's like, whoa, like it should be common sense, but people think that they can change other people. Now, this is a very simple concept, but if you realize how hard it is to change yourself, you realize how pointless it is to change others. And if you extradite this all the way up to the top, you should realize this is an underlying problem in everything where people think they can change other people. Take politics, for example. Republicans criticize Democrats. Democrats criticize Republicans. They both blame each other. They're both pointing criticisms, at the president or at the Speaker of the House or whoever. But it never makes anything better. It never changes anything. And at the end of the day, you still have to work with these people. Think about your job. If you've worked at any number of jobs in a couple places, you realize that there's always the office politics. The pressure to work and do things leads to gossip or leads to people trying to badmouth the other people, always trying to get ahead. And of course, I hope, as you get older, you realize that, yeah, you don't want to be one of those people. You don't want to be, talking about Buck and Tom behind their back. You want to be saying like, oh, they're slacking off, or oh, why aren't you picking on them, or why aren't you attacking them? Because that just gets you nowhere at the end of the day. And then that's your business. That's who you are at the end of the day. Once people start hearing that's what you do, then you erode the trust. You didn't change who the other person was, and now they're just left wondering, why would you ever say any bad things about them? What did they even do? What Fluffy Pickle? I wonder if you're still here. But yeah, you can't change people. What would be another good story? What would be another good story to share? I think this is the most common scene in dating. If you have the mindset of, you meet a girl, she doesn't hit all the items on the checklist, and then you think like, oh, down the line things will get better, things will change, and then it doesn't happen, and then you're disappointed. Like, you should ask yourself why do you want to change this other person? Why don't you just set the goals for yourself? Why don't you take the initiative? If you want more emotion in your relationship, then you show the emotion. If you want more compliments, then you start setting goals to like, all right, today's Monday, I better do 3 compliments today. And if you're bad at setting goals, which sometimes I fall in that boat, it's better to make it a habit. If you set a goal or set a habit, of never criticizing again, ever, then you don't always have to worry about setting the goal to like, oh, I better not say anything bad about this person, or I better be in my best behavior today. If you just set a habit of doing things, operating a certain way, then you don't have to worry about setting the goals all the time. If you're always grateful and thankful, then you don't always have to worry about setting the goal like, I better thank 3 people today. I better call up 4 people today and let them know how much they meant to me. If you just have a system, a way of operating to stay in touch with people, to follow up, then you're just better off in the long run. Is there anything else I want to add on this topic? You can't change people. Oh, what? I think in college, what happened? We had a 4 unit place, and I met this guy in the dorms, Chris, and I was so happy to be his roommate because I'm like, this is a cool dude. And we had 4 rooms to fill, and none of us did any of the work, the marketing, the goals, to find the people to fill the fourth slot because apparently we had a fourth slot. I think they told me they would take care of it, and looking back, I should have just started putting ads out as well instead of just trusting it on them. And eventually, we had a fourth, Chris, another Chris, and he backed out of going to the college I went to, Illinois State, at like the last minute. So then, once the school year started, we still needed a fourth to pay the bills, and we're scrambling to find somebody to fill in the fourth slot. And who did we have? Oh yeah, we had this guy, Brian, I think we found him. He was a nice dude, older. I think he was only there for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. He was super nice, and he seemed like he wanted to cook all these things. And for some reason, he had family trouble, and he had to drop out. And he's like, "Don't worry, guys, I won't screw you over. I'll get a good fit. I'll find the best roommate." And at the time, me and my 2 roommates were all these like super skinny dudes, like a little bit nerdy. We played video games, and Brian left us with a big frat boy college dude, 3 or 4 times our size, super muscular and buff. And he wanted to throw all these parties. And he's like, it's okay if I throw a kegger. And we're like, I don't know. This is like a new apartment. Like, we don't want to make this the party place. I guess we'll let you throw the one party and you're moving in, and that's how that will be. But he threw this first party, and like 200 people showed up. Like, it was a disaster. Like, this is a tiny place to such a scale, and it's undoubtedly the cops will get called, and then I'm responsible. The 2 roommates all 3 roommates are responsible. And the worst part about this was uh, high schoolers showed up to this party, underage, under 18. Like sometimes uh, the cops, the campus police, the state police, sometimes they're somewhat lenient. They get it. Oh, young kids. Oh, you're going to school, trying to be adults, don't know what you want to do with your life. And sometimes they're lenient, but it's like when you're under 18, it's like that's a whole new world of holy crap. Like, yeah, drunk people that could be, you know, getting in bed with these high schoolers, and then that's even more trouble. It's like, yikes. And fancy, yeah. And anyway, after that, we told him like, you know, it'd be cool if we didn't have any more parties like this. This was a disaster. Your first party, horrible. And of course, he wanted to keep throwing parties and keep throwing parties. And it's like, we would have had to put up with that the whole year. Eventually, I think, we called the cops on him and got busted. We got kicked out of the lease because, we're not supposed to have, we're supposed to be doing that on our lease. But, we knew we couldn't change him. And we tried to talk to him and try to get him to change behavior, but it didn't work. And you just realize, like, the best relationships start when you're happy with the person at the start. You realize if they don't have a growth mindset, if they just want to stay the same person, they're just going to stay the same person. That's who they're going to be. And I hope some of these stories helped. And I think that's all I have to share on the